Hi everyone, this short video is on creating a histogram graph of meaningful large trends in classroom data. This is probably the lowest level of meaningful data that you can create, but at times it makes a lot of sense for you to graph this kind of data. Actually more than at times, pretty frequently it makes sense for you to graph this kind of data. So the example that I have for you today is from a first grade classroom. This one is a pre-assessment, part of a larger language arts unit, language arts and guided reading unit. And the learning objective that applies to this data from the unit is that students will write consonant, short vowel, consonant words, so CVC words with a short vowel in the middle, and target high frequency words. Specifically, we're looking at then, the, said, down, now, and, my, like, I, know, and take, using conventional spelling and appropriate meaning with 80% accuracy. This is data from a pre-assessment. So this is the start of week 2, I believe, of the unit. They focused on these words in week 1 as well, but at the time of the pre-assessment, I felt, since the goal of the end of the week is that we could use them in our writing using conventional spelling and appropriate meaning, meaning that we understand how to use the words in sentences with 80% accuracy, that an appropriate benchmark at this pre-assessment, given the unit that I'm working in, is that students will write target high frequency words, notice, with conventional spelling with 70% accuracy. Notice that it's just right. It's not put in a sentence, it's pure writing, okay? And for this pre-assessment, it was the teacher stood in front of the room and she said the word and the student wrote the word down. The data that I've compiled on the table here is how each of the 20 students in this first grade classroom did on the assessment. And just to be clear with you, to read this chart of data, the X's mean that they spelled the word correctly. And if there is something other than an X in the box, it explains how they spelled the word. Okay, so if we take a look at student A for just a minute, all the X's are spelled correctly, and the student spelled my, M-I, and is, I-Z. I can already see a pattern there that the student is using phonemic spelling to spell the words. My sounds like M-I, and is sounds like I-Z. Makes a lot of sense that students might spell those words like that if they weren't super familiar with them as high frequency words and what their spelling was. Pardon me. Okay, so then in yellow here, I've added some columns to the table. I'm showing you how I analyzed. And in this case, I'm looking for where students are in relation to my benchmark goal for them right now, which is to use conventional spelling with 70% accuracy. So I've counted every time that the students have used conventional spelling and totaled that in the first column. So essentially, this is the number right out of 15. And in the second column, I've created a percentage. So I've divided the number right by the total number, which is 15, and established what percentage accuracy that they have achieved, because that's my learning objective. I'm analyzing according to my learning objective. And in terms of backwards thinking, so I just explained to you forwards thinking, right? I thought about where they should be in terms of the goal at this point in the unit, and drafted a specific goal for that. And then I analyzed that according to the goal. But in terms of backwards thinking, we want to think about, why are we interested in this? And in this case, if I look forward at the existing unit, this is an example, by the way, as is the example in the assignment that you're working on. This is an example of having a somewhat planned curriculum and instruction plan, and you tailoring the assessments to meet the needs of the children around that plan. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago in terms of part of what we do as educators is we take what we have, what we're sort of stuck with, what we've been given, and stuck with might not be the right word. What we've been given is the right word, because a lot of times what we've been given is really high quality. If it's not, then it's what we're stuck with. So we take what we've been given and we figure out how to use our assessment skills to tailor that instructional or curricular plan to meet the needs of our children at this given moment, right? Not some theoretical first grader, but in this case, these 20 first graders in this classroom. All right, and so in backwards thinking, I took a look at that plan, the unit plan that's in front of me, and I noticed that I have planned a number of small group activities that involve using these words. And so to best meet the needs of the children in our classroom, I want to create small groups that are heterogeneous, meaning that I want to create small groups of children, some of which are meeting the expectation, some of which are exceeding the expectation, and some of which are still working toward meeting the expectation so that they can scaffold each other as they use these words in the activities. And that is why I'm creating this, why I'm analyzing the data using this method. Okay, so to create a histogram. And I'm in Word here, just so you know, and to create a histogram, what I've done, like I said, is I've totaled up the number correct and then calculated a percentage. And then what I'm going to do is to determine how many of our 20 children fall within my designed categories. And since we're dealing with a 70% goal and an eventual 80% goal, I just went by 10%. So 0 to 10%, 11 to 20%, 21 to 30%, 31 to 40%, because I want to see how the children are spread out along the possible 100 percentage points here. So to create a histogram, all you're going to do is count, right? Okay, so how many students are in the 0 to 10 category? It looks like, and by the way, I'm calculating percentages here. It looks like 0, or I'm sorry, it looks like 1. Okay, and then 11 to 20, it also looks like 1. And then 21 to 30, 1, also 1. 30 to 41, I'm sorry, 31 to 40, we've got 1. Okay. And then 41 to 50, we have 1, 2, okay, 2. All right, and then 51 to 60, 1, just 1. All right, and then 61 to 70, 1. '71 to '80, we've got a 73. We have another 73, so that's, and an 80, so that's 3. And then 81 to 90, we've got 186, 2, oops, I have 2 here and I had 4 here. I skipped an 80, I saw it this time. And then 91 to 100, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so from here we can create a histogram, and we're just going to go up to insert, and we're going to insert a chart. And you can do histogram, but you actually don't have to in this instance. You can just do a bar graph because we've already done the work of creating a histogram for you. Okay, and it's going to open a chart and a table. Okay, and in this instance, we only have one x-axis item and one y-axis item. So we're just going to go like this right away and shrink this down because we only have a couple of categories. And then we're going to expand this out because we have more, and we can literally just copy and paste our data into here. Hold on. Let's just do this. There we go. All right, unfortunately, it thinks this is a date, so we are going to change this 11 to 20, and this is not a date. Format cells. Nope. Don't convert to date. Number general. All right, so you're 11 to 20. It doesn't like me today. All right, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna go space 0 to 10, 11 to 20. There we go. We'll trick it. We'll trick the system right now. Okay, and we don't need any of this data. We can make it go away if you want. And we also can make these rows go away because we don't need them. Okay. And here we go. I've somehow gotten a bunch of weird rows in here. There we go. So we have already right here our histogram, right? This tells us how many students, and this tells us what their score was. Okay. So for purposes of grouping and application here, let me show you one thing. Let's go back into here. We're going to close this data. You can always open the data again in Word, just so you know, if you click on the histogram and you click edit data, you can edit data in Excel. I'm sorry, you can always open the data again, and it will open it right here for you. Okay. And in this case, we're going to call this, let's change this to percent correct, percent accuracy. Okay. Yeah. Accuracy of assigned high frequency words. I just clicked right in the title and I can write there. And of course I misspelled accuracy. Click that right. I might have to do it in the data. There we go. Let's change the spelling and make it right. It didn't do it. There we go. Sometimes an enter is all you need. Okay, and then if you want to, which I'm a big fan of, is that we can put in a axis title, and we're going to say number of students, right? Because I don't like to have an axis that's not labeled. If you had multiple categories here on the bottom, you could have different colors for them, and then you could put a broader label on there. We don't really need another label because it's pretty clear that this is the percent of accuracy. And so in terms of grouping, if I'm thinking about application from this data, I might look at given how this data is distributed. This group, and then maybe this group right here, 51 to 80. Okay, and then this group. To make groupings. So, you know, I might take one student from here who's in the far exceeds expectation, one student from here or here who is meeting expectation, and one student from down here who is struggling or still approaching expectation, and make a small group out of them, okay? For the purpose of this video, I didn't determine how large my small groups would be, but if you were discussing the application of this data, you would make it very specific, okay? I think in this unit, I need 5 small groups. So 20 students, 5 small groups, we're looking at about 4 students. So how you would pair them together in terms of what the broad data tells you. Okay, that's how you analyze for meaningful data in really large trends against a learning objective.